Okay, so welcome to this masterclass, also a question and answer opportunity for the initiation into the light and dark feminine for males and men. So I'm going to invite all of us, whether you're watching the replay or you're here live, to take a moment to connect to your intention for yourself. Your intention with the feminine. Within, around you, on the planet, whatever level, but with the feminine. Okay. So I want to start off with a few points. And the first is that my intention is not for men or males to become more feminine. That is not the end point. The end point is for all humans to become more whole. That's the end point. And because of the body you've chosen to incarnate in this life, and there's been probably other bodies, female, male, alternating, or who knows in what sequence in previous lives, but in this one you've chosen, as a soul, you've chosen a male body. Most likely you've been treated a certain way in your upbringing, and that you're still treated as you walk in the street, as you order a drink, as you purchase something. And that is different than somebody who looks more like me, female bodied. And that means for all of us, whatever body we're in, we're not treated as whole. We're treated as half. I'm treated as a female or a woman, as the feminine. And I get the feminine projected out on me and expectations about the feminine. And if I am to embrace more masculine qualities, or what are considered masculine qualities, I'm told I'm a masculine woman, or I'm too masculine. I'm not seen as whole. And if someone in a male body is to embrace feminine qualities, whatever we consider feminine qualities, there's judgment. Often there's judgment, not always. Thank God, or the goddess. But there are judgments. And yet, so many of us are now striving, longing to become whole, to not just be relegated to whatever body we were born in. And yes, that is important. It is absolutely important that you have a cock and it's beautiful and there's no denying it. Just as much as that I have a yoni and that's beautiful and there's no denying it. And a womb and I bleed and I can birth a child. And you can seed half a village in one ejaculation. Oh, we all have gifts. Superpowers. So I'm not just this body. You're not just this body. My intention in working with the cross, and that's a map where we deal with the soul and the body as polarities, the animal body that only knows this one life, and the soul that knows that it's eternal and that it's going through different incarnations for its evolution. That polarity. And then this polarity of masculine and feminine, they're polarities, but they're not opposites. They're not contradictions. Me knowing myself as a soul does not cancel out this body. Or me being in touch with this animal nature does not cancel out the soul. Quite the contrary. And the same for masculine and feminine. Me embracing my femininity does not then compromise the masculine, and vice versa. It actually reinforces. That's how polarities work. You go deeply into one, you come out into the other, and you find the middle. You find balance. One way I describe this is that you have two wings, all us humans, have two wings. Feminine, masculine. It takes two wings to fly. Otherwise, you're really trying to take off or land with one wing. You're not whole. So that's the actual intention, and that's the work of the cross. That's the map of the cross. And when you take soul and masculine, you have light masculine in this quadrant meaning 4. When you take soul and feminine, you have light feminine, the more etheric. You take animal body and feminine, and you have, wait, what am I trying? Yes. Yes, okay. You have dark feminine, and you take masculine and animal body, and you have dark masculine. So the quadrants are made of these two combinations. So they are a combination. And we all have all of it. And yet we've been conditioned certain ways. And yet, because of culture, because of religion, because of our parents, our upbringing, because of karmas, we live it differently. Oh, 1 second. Yago, can you pin me? Because he's saying that it was removed. Yes, thank you. Thank you. Okay, so we have also the different realities that we are conditioned with, and yet there's a deeper truth. There's a deeper truth, and that truth is what the cross map will give us. So the initiation into the feminine is a portion of the map. It is not the full map. It is this that I just described. It is soul and feminine, light feminine. It is animal body and feminine, dark feminine. It is this part. My dog Sisu. He likes to be around. Yes, honey. Yes, honey. So another thing I want to say is that I know the challenges that come with having to reconnect to or allow to take half, allow to take 50, allow to take center stage, the feminine, because that's been my journey. I was conditioned to be more in the masculine, to be intellectual, to not cry, not be afraid, to be tough, and to be really, yeah, to be the best, to be competitive, and many other qualities that are considered masculine. Now, if you feel that some of the things I'm naming are not masculine, or some of the things I'm naming as feminine are not feminine, that's totally fine. It doesn't matter if you label it blue and green, or you label it bird and fish, whatever you want to call it. The question is it integrated? Do you live it? Is it healthy? Is it in balance? That's it. Wherever you place it. This is a map. It may not fit other maps you're used to. Okay. Has it been integrated? If not, then you know where your work is. So I know how risky and how vulnerable and how threatening it felt when I started to go down that path of it reintegrating, reconnecting to the feminine more as the center stage of my life, of where I was living from. But I knew I had to do it. I knew I had to do it because I wanted to become whole. And I wasn't happy anymore being a part, a portion. So this is not the work, the cross work is not essential to your being able to take out the trash or make a living or drive a car. It's not essential. But if you want to become whole, it is absolutely essential. And for those in male bodies, it is absolutely essential to embrace the feminine. Some males will say, just like females will say, but I have a really strong feminine, actually. I actually need to work on the masculine. Like, I'm feminine enough, really. Like, I need to work on the masculine. And females will say the same in reverse, that I need to work on the feminine. I'm masculine enough. And then my question always is, Is it healthy? Is your feminine, if you feel you're already feminine enough, is that feminine a healthy expression of the feminine? Is it in balance? Great if it is. Please let us drink from your fountain. Honestly. And some will say, actually, I have a really stunted feminine, like it hasn't developed yet because, I'm so much in my masculine, or the kind of work that I do, or the kind of upbringing I've had, and it's very, masculine oriented. And it's like speaking Martian. I don't know how to do that. And I don't really want to, like, I have the feminine around me. Okay, so do you want to be a slave to somebody else feeling for you, somebody else having multi orgasms, somebody else doing the compassionate thing, or somebody else doing the nurturing thing, or somebody else, fill in the blanks, whatever you think the feminine is or does. And most likely you'll end up being bitter by the fact that somebody else gets to do that and you don't. Resentment. And as long as your feminine is distorted, it's going to be hard, meaning shadow, distortion. It's going to be really hard to trust the feminine out there. It's like a thief thinks everyone's a thief, that kind of saying. However it goes in your language, everyone's got some version of this. So whatever distortions or shadows your feminine has, it's going to be projecting it out there everywhere. It's going to be hard to trust the feminine. Now, that doesn't sound like, at least for me, the kind of world I want to live in. And again, this applies feminine, masculine. It's about becoming whole and healing. Okay, so that's part of the why you would do this. Now, a little bit about feminine versus masculine initiation, especially because I'm speaking to a group of males, men. It is more of the masculine way, whatever body we're in, but more of the masculine way to climb the mountaintop and stand there alone. It's that testing of being thrown out in the wilderness and you can survive on your own. It's being tested that you can do it. That you have the resources, you have the will, you have the power, you have the whatever, intelligence to make it. And the masculine will say, this is not me, this is not me, this is not me, until there is just this. It will go through a process of elimination, actually. It's more like weeding out. The feminine initiations happen through the polarity of that, which is, instead of climbing the mountaintop or going out in the wilderness and surviving on your own, it is the connection and the interconnectedness. And instead of saying, this is not me, or weeding out and, until you're like, what am I? And that presence and that, it's, this is also me. And this is also me. And this is also me. And this is also me. Until again, there's just one. They lead to the same. That's why they're polarities. They're not opposites. They lead to the same. But the approaches would feel opposite. It gets you to the same place. Two polarities meeting at the center. So this is also me, through that connection. That connection through feeling. That connection through vibration or through resonance. The interconnectedness. So the light feminine will teach us about the interconnectedness of being here and being able to see everything with compassion and with acceptance. And I had a really distorted, meaning overdeveloped, dark masculine some years ago. And I remember when I was in the presence of a really powerful light feminine, And that was Amma, actually. I was in her presence once only. And it was not during that hugging part. I felt nothing. I was just like, my head was moved. I was like, come here, don't, don't move. Tissue, okay, now move along. And it was like 2 o'clock in the morning, and I was like, really? Got nothing out of that. But what did it for me? We were all the way by the exit in an ice ring, a hockey ice ring thing in Helsinki stadium arena. And we were by the exit, and she was, you could only see her, like, binoculars and a big screen. And she came out to do blessings of the waters, and then later those waters were shared. Those waters were shared by everybody who was there. And she was not looking at us. She wasn't even speaking in English. She doesn't speak English. She was blessing the waters. And I was just sitting there like waiting, for the thing to start. And all of a sudden I just started bawling, crying, like that. And like literally, I was sitting, but I went on my knees and I was trembling with the power of that level of compassion and acceptance. Because as I identified so strongly with the dark masculine at that time, I felt broken. I felt like, those wounds from being in battle, and I was tired. There was a part of me that felt that way, and being in the Great Mother's presence, in that unconditional acceptance and love. And we are majority liquid, so as she was putting the blessings to the waters, of course it's affecting our bodies. Didn't have to be directed to me. This went on for almost half an hour. I understood it was a transmission of the light feminine, the strongest. Like, I was like, it's something to bow to. Any misconception that the light feminine is weak, which is the greatest misconception, it is a big misunderstanding that out of the 4 quadrants, it's the light feminine that is the weak one. She doesn't have power. And so don't go there, especially if you're a man or male. Oh. So I'd like to invite you actually to connect to what your body would feel like if you were to be held in unconditional acceptance. You have nothing to change, nothing to fix, nothing to do, nothing to be. And there's nothing but compassion and love being poured towards you. Everything you've ever done, thought, felt, said is held in that love and compassion. And it's basically unfathomable. It's hard to even imagine, because few of us have ever been in the presence of that, or ever been on the receiving end of that. But if even you get a taste, a glimpse, you'll know that that is power. It is not a power over, it is not a power of force or of muscle. It's not an intelligent, it's not a power of the mind. It's a power of the heart. And it will bring anyone to their knees. Did you want to share something? Just give them the space, because it looked like somebody was moving forward that they wanted to share. So if there is something that came through, feel free. I'm pinned. Your visual will not show.
Hi. I was thinking that the light feminine is not weak, it's vulnerable. And the vulnerable isn't same as weak. It's like one of the, what you say, describe about the heart. That's about the vulnerability. And that's nothing to do with weak. And I think like the defense mechanisms that comes in the childhood are like armor and walls that try to cover up the vulnerability. And then comes the idea like it's something about weak or being weak, but it's misunderstanding.
Yes, that's very true. And we do explore this in greater detail in the immersion in the initiation, the difference between vulnerability and weakness. So I'd like to actually, since you brought it in, I'd like to invite everyone to connect to what is very vulnerable for you. It can be anything. It can be to show a particular emotion, to tell somebody the truth, to ask for a raise, to say no to a loved one. What is very vulnerable for you? Very. Where your heart starts to accelerate and maybe your stomach starts to turn and you have butterflies. Yeah, that kind of vulnerable. Or knot in the throat or shaky knees. Vulnerable. So hopefully everybody has something by now. Maybe you have a lot of things. And consider, do you sometimes misunderstand that if you were to be seen in this or be felt in this or be witnessed, heard in this, you might be seen as weak, or that you yourself would feel weak? So it is a big misunderstanding. The vulnerability is weakness, and it's not. It is very powerful. When I learned this, I understood one of the key transmissions of the feminine. I've already shared one of them, which is about connection. And the other is about vulnerability, as to being seen in vulnerability and to know it in myself as power. And to walk through the world through that, like that, with that knowing. Doesn't mean I'm not afraid. Doesn't mean I don't feel. But I don't mistake vulnerability for weakness. Another one of the key transmissions of the light feminine is forgiveness. Now, many of us mistake, me included, holding a grudge, or you're not going to do that to me a second time. I'm going to remember that, or I'll give it back to you, or whatever. Holding grudges, bitterness, this kind of thing, as a false sense of power, a false sense of strength. So just check in with yourself. If there's any grudges or any bitterness or any resentment towards others, and it can be something, from childhood, mommy, daddy stuff included, usually. Here we get to check. Yes, that's me. Not always. Ex-partner, also a big testing ground. That if you hold on to this, it makes you strong. To forgive would make you maybe a doormat. You'd get walked over. And I'd like to share with you the transmission around forgiveness that really nailed it for me. And that was when, just a little background. My father left our family home when I was 1. And for 30 years, he was responsible for everything that went wrong or didn't go right. Everything that happened that shouldn't have happened and everything that didn't happen that should have happened. Basically, he was to blame, even though he was nowhere, not even in the same country, nothing to do with anything. But it was because he left, basically. And then one fine day, he called my mother and he told her, I've sold the house. I've moved. I have no forwarding address and no number. If something happens to me, somebody from the family will let you know. So basically, I'm dead to you. Don't look for me. So she calls me. I was living in India at the time. And she said, are you sitting? Yeah. And she tells me this. And I just felt that just not in the throat and this, the heartbeat and in the stomach. And I said, okay, thank you. And I got off. And I had to face all that bitterness, literally like tasted bitter, like bile when you throw up. That bitterness that I've been carrying. And realizing that he's moved on with his life very well. I imagined he was having fun, had good life, happy life. And here I am, holding on to this bitterness, anger, rage, actually, poisoning myself. There was something wrong with this picture. That's when I decided, okay, maybe I've done this to myself long enough now, 30 years. I need help. I need to explore forgiveness. Forgiveness is not power, it's poison. I'm super grateful to my father for that karmic lesson. One more quality of the light feminine I'd like to touch on with you. And there are numerous, but here's one more. Innocence. Now, in most cultures, I'm not going to say all because I don't know that to be a fact, but in the overwhelming majority of cultures, innocence is something that's associated with childhood, with being a child. And innocence is lost when either you hit puberty, that means your body starts to change, hormones start to kick in, and you move towards adolescence, away from childhood and towards adolescence, puberty. Either when you hit puberty or you begin to sexually engage. In most languages, there's some kind of reference of innocence lost that has that time, the physical life, that time as a reference. Now, I was sexually abused as a child. I was later raped. I put myself in plenty of situations that I could not see as innocent, especially sexually. And this was an area that I was like, the two can never meet. I am broken. I'm tainted. There is no light feminine, like great mother's embrace doesn't reach this one. And then I met my husband, who has one of the strongest light feminine transmissions I have ever come across, ever. And he's been the fountain I have been drinking from. He's been that modeling for me around innocence, and especially around sexuality. And so we reached the stage where it was just spontaneous. I was bleeding. I was having my menstruation. And the only towel around, it was a white towel. I put it underneath me so I don't stain. We were camping, actually. It was actually a natural high. It was probably right before that workshop where you met me. And I put it there, and then I saw the blood. And I just looked at him and I said, can this be my first time? And he looked at me like, of course, it's a tall order for anyone to take, right? Can this be my first time? Because I don't remember my first time. And he was like, okay. And I'm sure it was not the sexiest situation for him. He can speak for himself. But so he started to be very gentle, very loving, very sweet, very soft. And I looked at him and I said, no, take. have my consent, take. And what I needed to reinstill was that there is no bottom to this well of innocence. And that is the case for all humans. And whatever porn stuff or whatever sexual shame or shadows you have, or any other aspect of your life where innocent doesn't get to take center stage. The light feminine, that's her gift, that's her love, that's her power. And she says, yes, innocence is here. It can never run out, nor can it be taken. You may forget, you may have to dust off some debris, but innocence. Now, how many of us get to live our lives knowing our innocence versus guilt and shame that we mostly carry? That is power. And after that encounter, the light feminine, that was my initiation, my big initiation. Those two that I've now named are amongst the big initiations for me of the light feminine power and love and transmission through my being, because this was inaccessible to me before. And yes, a large part of my training not officially like in a group, but in day out, day in interactions came from my husband. And that's, I honor that feminine, I honor my sisters in male bodies as much as my brothers in male bodies honor the masculine in me and in other female bodies. Only then can I recognize a soul, and I can see, yes, two wings, not just a body, two wings. They're both living there. So this is a bit on the light feminine. The other one, I mentioned it, is the mother. Now, most of us have mommy issues. Doesn't matter what body you're in. She birthed you, she raised you, maybe not. And you probably have some objections in the way that was carried out. Even if you have a great relationship with your mother, my mother was my best friend. And when my therapist said, because I was working on daddy issues for years, and then she was like, we're going to move on to mother next. And I was like, she said, I don't remember doing that, but she said, I literally like sat back far away from her, like, you don't touch that. That's a clear sign of mommy issues. I didn't know that at the time. But so yeah, mommy, seeking to be mothered. I know it's a stereotype that goes with males, but it's not just. We work on it with the females too, with the women too. But what is it like to actually nourish, nurture, and hold myself, as opposed to looking to be mothered? And not just being able to hold myself like this, being able to hold myself in the depths of my anguish, my sorrow, my joy, etc. So now a quick practice. What would be the most insulting thing related to the feminine that someone could say to you? You're two, or you're whatever, fill in the blank. What would be the most insulting thing to you that would compare you to the feminine? It can be about emotion, physical, mental, work, body, anything. Now, in case that statement was framed in a derogatory way, it would be insulting to any human being to say this, rephrase it that it is not derogatory, it would not be insulting if you said it to a female, but it's still insulting to you. now, taking a moment to connect to your heart. And maybe there's other body parts that are active, but for sure the heart would be one portal. And going behind that word or phrase and finding the longing or the fear. Okay, it's insulting. What are you afraid of? Or what do you long for? Actually. Within, in you. So this will give you some hint, maybe give you more than a hint, around some of the work around the feminine. What your ego or your masculine or your I don't know what takes as insulting, actually there might be a longing or a deep fear inside related to that. Not to be taken at face value at surface level, but deeper. Okay, let's move to our dark sister, not leaving her behind. So this was a little taste of the light feminine, and I have a full an hour and a half or an hour and 45 minutes on the light feminine, going through theory and going through other practices with the light feminine. It's on the YouTube, and so help yourself to more on the light feminine. Now about the dark feminine, and that one is for all humans. So this is more specific to males. So dark feminine. Usually the sticking point here is emotions, feeling. The dark feminine superpower is she feels everything. Fully, rawly, I think I made that up. Very raw and intensely. And so in that moment when we're watching the news and it starts to get too much, or we're walking by a homeless person or a wounded animal and we look the other way, we all have those moments in our daily life where it's too much to feel, where we filter out what we can connect to emotionally for all the right reasons. It's too much. Well, we go numb, we shut down. That's the point. That at that moment, we turn our back to our dark sister. Now, we've been doing that for millennia because she's been demonized. This is one of the most demonized, or the most demonized of the quadrants. The dark masculine has the most shadow, but here this has become like, this is the witch. This is, who should be burned at the stake. This is who's going to steal your husband. This is who's going to, make you throw all your money away, or, whatever. She's bewitched. She's demonized. Can't understand her. She's chaotic. Oh my God. Gotta control her. I'm exaggerating, maybe. Maybe not. Depends where you stand with that, just a little. Okay. It depends where you stand with your dark sister. But yeah, we've been turning the other cheek on feeling as a humanity, and in particular, males. In particular. I mean, that whole stereotypical thing of like crying as being like a girl, or being like a sissy, or you're a faggot, or you're gay, or whatever reduction of your masculine by comparing it to the feminine, and in particularly around emotions. In particular around emotions. Now, some cultures are better at that than others, but mostly, and some families are better at that than others, but mostly this is the air we breathe and the water we swim in. And so you've got to be tough, and you've got to be strong, and you've got to, endure the hard cock. And if you start crying or start losing it, who's going to hold it together? It's going to all fall apart. Who's going to show up to work, or who's going to take care of the family, or whatever role you've taken on? These are stereotypes. You fill in the blanks for yourself. If you start feeling, you will unravel into a mushy, chaotic mess. And be disrespected. Now, or be called, crazy. This is something I had to face as well. It was not only the light sister that I had to reintegrate, it was also the dark sister. I feel you if you resonate with what I've been saying so far. When my teacher started working with me, Akash, the same one who said, maybe we'll work on your mother next. When I went to her, I had no idea what I was feeling. And people would say, why are you so angry? Me? Angry? I'm not angry. I'm not angry. And years, I think maybe a decade went by, I didn't cry. I didn't allow myself to cry. I had to learn how to cry, to be okay to cry. And I remember the first time I cried in front of another person. It was one of my best friends at the time. It was my best friend at the time. I was, I think, 18. And she looked at me and she said, and I couldn't look at her, right? I'm looking ahead and she's looking ahead. And we're doing that kind of thing, right? We're not going to actually look at each other while I'm going through this. I was going through a breakup. And she looked at me, though I could see from my peripheral vision. And she said, don't worry. I'm not going to tell anyone I saw you cry. And I was in shock because I didn't realize that how strongly I held that. That would mean weakness. I was 18. I'm 45. And then I went to my teacher and worked on the emotional front a lot. And then I was able to cry, but alone. Like I could let the river run, but alone. And then I could let the river run in a corner while there were a bunch of other people over here, but I would be in some corner behind the curtain kind of thing. No joke, really, I was in a corner. And silent, no noise with crying. And then I would cry, not under the curtain, amongst others, but still silent. And at the end, after everybody else was done, like coming out of it, like kind of sneakily, like, okay. I went step by step by step to regain my tears, to regain the flow of sadness in my emotional front. And I learned that I can't pick and choose what emotions I feel. That is a myth. I don't get to choose, I'm going to be happy, I'm going to be orgasmic, I'm going to be fill in the blanks, but not sad, or not afraid, or not angry. I just get to make the decision whether I feel or I don't. It's different vibrations, different frequencies. It's all part of the same. It's emotions. I get to choose if I feel or not. I get to choose if I stay with the dark sister or not. And so I can understand if for some people this feels absolutely scary, or it feels crazy, or it feels like just uncharted territory. I've had all of it. Or if you're the kind that actually has a lot of emotion coming through and you don't know how to control it, it's distorted. You don't know how to be with it. Other side of the same coin. So the dark sister's gift to us is about the wisdom of emotions and the purity of emotions, not with all the baggage of decades accumulated, and then you throw up on somebody, you vomit on them, or you literally have diarrhea on them of the mouth, of the emotional body. No, not that. That's not the healthy dark feminine. No. But there's a lot to be angry about in the world. We need our dark sister to say, no, that's not okay. What's happening on this planet? No, it's not okay. What's happening on the Ukraine and Russia border right now? No, that's not okay. There are many things that are not okay. And we've been turning the cheek way too long. Going numb, not feeling, pretending it's not there. Way too long. And look what happens. Look what happens all around and within. And also the dark sister has her. Okay, let me open it. Is there anything about the dark sister so far? Anything around the emotional front? Unmute. I'm pinned. No, this is a piece of pie. All taken care of. Got this quadrant's covered. Yes. No resistance, no fears, no hesitations around the dark sister's gift of feeling fully and intensely. And not only feeling me, I feel you. I feel that child. I feel that tree. I feel that bird. I feel, period. I don't get to choose what I feel or who it's related to. I just feel.
I can share. This is like my home base has been light masculine, being very present and logical and everything. And then especially when I said yes to this course, it's like that there are this, and when there's the dark feminine is coming through, this like that I know I'm angry or I'm sad, and I don't even know why. And there can be, it's just like that in, for example, with my partner, there's just this sadness or anger that comes through, and I'm just letting I feel it now. This, I don't know why I feel this, but I feel this, and then I'm coming out. And actually, after I let it come, I find out that where it's coming from. It may be that there's been like something just as being there between us, for example, which I haven't felt. And after I let it come, so it is like distilled, and it comes out. Okay, this has actually been bothering me, and but I can't find the like logical reason why I'm feeling like this. And it's like, it is for part of me, it is scary to let that like be, I'm feeling, and these feelings are coming out, and I don't know why. Just let it run and trust it. There's a purpose, and there's wisdom in that feeling, and purity in that feeling.
And that's, thank you. That there's, it's two-sided coin again. One is that instead of feeling, I understand. I'm rational about it, right? Or I fix it, or I take care of it, I get things done. Like instead of feeling like I'm just gonna go mental, leave the emotional body, go mental, or like go work out, but just not stay with the emotional body, basically, right? That's one side of the coin. And the other is, I don't feel the real feeling, but I blame, right? Or I bitch. And so it gives me some kind of out, or I ejaculate. A very common one for those with cocks. I ejaculate. So instead of feeling, it's like I have to release some energy, tension. And so, okay, blame, bitch, ejaculate is one side of the coin. And another side of the coin is go mental, go physical, but just don't go emotional. Okay. Anyone else? Anything so far? A couple more things on the dark sister.
Yeah, my whole body tightened up. It's like every muscle of my body tightened up with your transmission of the dark feminine. And yeah, it's about that it's way too much to feel everything. And that is deeply ingrained in me. So
yeah, thank you for sharing that. It's important. It's important. And it's true for many. It is true. I remember having a man come to me. He actually signed up, but I don't think he's here right now. He said, I don't believe in emotions. I don't believe they exist. And I was like, oh, okay. We can start with that. Let's start with that. And then we started deconstructing emotions. And it was a beautiful journey. And yeah, going from, okay, this is too much, to how can I expand this container? Because as long as it's too much, the feminine out there is going to be too much. And the feminine in here is going to resent that others get to feel and I don't. And worst case scenario, turns to some kind of, cancer or whatever. It eats you up from the inside. Literally. It's poison. Whatever you don't. And it's releasing is not feeling. This is also a misunderstanding. We go into this. Releasing, like doing pillow beating or humping or, that's not feeling emotions necessarily. So that's when you don't feel enough, you need to generate energy so that you can get from the frozenness or the numbness to feeling. Yes. When it's too much and you're going to explode, you need to release enough energy. Yes. So that you can feel. But dumping it out or just, it's the same as like, an ejaculation or vomiting on somebody or, yeah. And there's no judgment here about ejaculations, by the way, but when they are used as an emotional release, you're basically, it's a misuse of your own body. Forget whoever else's body you're interacting with that you're using as a garbage bin. But, it's, your cock is not a joystick, and it's your decision to do with it as you wish. I hate saying that because actually your body gets to decide, not your mind. But okay, same with my body. Okay, so the Dark Sister also has another transmission is about Eros and the intelligence of Eros, eroticism, the being guided by erotic connection or erotic impulse, and the difference between Eros and sex. And this is something that's really hard, especially for males. Part of it is wiring. Yes, I will admit that part of it is biological, but not only. It's mostly overwhelming conditioning. That if I'm feeling aroused or if I'm feeling turned on, it's sexual. Not true. Dark Sister says, where I'm getting aroused, where I'm getting wet, where I'm getting hard, there's something there for me. Doesn't mean I need to spread my legs, nor that I need to penetrate. And this is where most males then start to be like, this is going to get me in trouble. Like, this is going to like fuck up my life. I'm not sure that I want to really embrace the Dark Sister. First, you're telling me about all these emotions. Then you're telling me about this erotic, compass. Yes, I am. And it doesn't mean sexual engagement. It doesn't mean it has to lead to any sexual experience. It means, because it's the Dark Sister, she's connected to the animal body and the feminine. The feminine is connected to everything, interconnectedness, and the animal body that is connected to the rawness, the wildness of the body and its authenticness. Yeah, like think of a wild animal in the jungle or in the forest or whatever nature. So this, and so it's like there's something here, something, there's potential of something here, and it may have nothing to do with sexuality. But I'm not going to deny the truth of my body and the truth of this connection, nor does it have to live out by breaking any relationship agreements that I have, or going against maybe other parts of me that feel otherwise about this connection. But it's not to deny it. There is an intelligence there, just like with emotions, there is an intelligence. And again, this might be really difficult. And it's like, do I really want that in my life? Well, how much of a turn on is it when you witness it out there? And it doesn't have to be in a female, but when you witness erotic sovereignty, when you witness erotic intelligence and wisdom and confidence, that is power. It's got shitloads of power. That also can bring people to their knees. Now, why doesn't every human get to experience this? Why is that only for half of the population? Okay. There's really no good reason, by the way. Don't search for an answer. So, dark sister. So the transmission of each quadrant, dark and light, feminine and masculine, is a transmission of love, is a transmission of life, is a transmission of power. It just has different flavors, but altogether, it means wholeness. So that juiciness of the dark feminine, coupled with your light masculine in this polarity, the one that was just shared about understanding and all this. Now, usually this attracts externally in outer bodies. This game plays out a lot. And so does this one. Dark masculine, damsel in distress, light feminine, warrior here to save the day. Roles. Archetypes. Now, what if you weren't a slave to playing it out there? What if you got to fulfill the polarities and come out in the middle, not only as whole, but with what's behind them, and that is life itself, life force. The only way to know yourself as a soul is to embody, integrate, take each one of those 4 pieces of cake, chew it, swallow it, process it. That's the map. Why do this part, the feminine, for males and females separately? Just like I do the masculine for males and females separately. Why? For me, it's obvious. If I'm in a room with other males and I'm working on my masculine, I'm going to look at them. What should this look like? What should I act like? Like, how does a dude act like, or whatever? I'm exaggerating. And the same thing will happen in reverse. Men and males in a room with females. Oh, is this how I'm supposed to be? Oh. It becomes caricature. You don't get to actually look in. You're painting your canvas with borrowed paint of what it's supposed to be. And it's not based on outer form, none of it, which is why I, in this body, can lead groups for men and males on the masculine. And why my husband, with his beautiful cock and other beautiful body parts, very male, can teach me about the feminine and the light feminine in particular. It's not based on form, but you will not be served by painting, copy paste, or borrowed paint, monkey see, monkey do. That's what most of us do as we're growing up. I look out there as a little girl. What does it mean to be a girl, a woman? What am I supposed to, long hair, earrings, lipstick, that whole thing, what am I supposed to do? What am I supposed to look like? And same, males. with men, others, older, brothers, uncles, fathers, whatever. That doesn't serve. So that's why I do it separately. Because you can only project on me, and I will do my best to be a soul with a transmission. One of the assistants to the group is here, Jaco, and I remember when I ran the body and soul part of the cross, because there's 3 parts. There's the masculine initiation, there's the feminine initiation, there's the body and soul part. And it was residential with men, only men and me. And so we had to figure out, okay, I need to have a separate bathroom because, I do have a form that is female. And so I looked at Jaco and I was like, do you think of me as a woman? Do you look at me as a woman? And he looked at me, he's like, no. I was like, okay, what am I to you? He's like, I don't know, you're a soul. I was like, so my job is to give transmissions, and I've also invited other males to join me to give transmissions, because you will see me as a female unless you hang around me enough to be like Jaco, who doesn't see me as a female. And you need the modeling in male bodies. In male bodies. How does that feminine look and move in male bodies, in fathers, in brothers, in sons, in, the waiter, in your whatever, in everyday life? How does the feminine move? And it has nothing to do with growing your hair long, wearing earrings, high heels, and it could include that if you wish it. Nothing wrong. But it's not about the form. It's about the energy and becoming whole. So I want to take a moment. Timo. I want to introduce Timo. He's very graciously agreed to be around. Oh, come over here. This is Timo, my husband. You've heard about him. Yes. So this has been my modeling in the light feminine. And one of the fears is that as you work on the feminine, that the masculine gets reduced. And one of my favorite lines from you is, more feminine is not less masculine, it's just more.
More of me.
More of you. So I know when we met, you had not done, groups or work, or it was just, this is your natural self, that you have a beautiful, healthy, strong feminine. And I'm just wondering how you feel about being in a male body and having that as a transmission, and how it affects your masculinity.
Mm. Well, some of the feminine traits I came with, and some I have developed that were very stunted. For example, I had a very abusive alcoholic father, and I did not feel at all. I was numb. And I also was the kind that I'll do everything alone. I don't need anybody. So yeah, those 2 things have been huge, to be able to ask for help. Such a relief. And then actually to feel. It's, yeah, that's, I think that's the one biggest gift that I've gotten, is to actually, feel. Yeah, and then another big thing was, the could say, is around feminine, that was the homophobia that I had. Mm-hmm. And that's like women are very okay between women bodies, and with males it's a lot of times it's such a blockage that you can't be intimate with another male body, because there's this like hovering homophobia hovering around. And yeah, to embrace my feminine and to play with that, to get rid of that, to get rid of any any fears that you're something around male bodies. It gives such an opening with being with male bodies, being with men.
Being in brotherhood.
Yeah. It's huge.
If anybody has any question about having a strong feminine in a male body, feel free, unmute now. This is not the oracle. I mean, there are many answers, and there are probably others here on the call as well, but if you feel to, and he will also be a guest presenter in the course.
Hello. Something that happens to me is that I was repressing feelings for like so many years, and then when it opened very strongly, and now I'm in the point in which sometimes I don't even go out. I stay at home because of fear of feeling. I worry if I'm gonna go out and something's gonna happen, and I'm gonna be triggered, or even if I'm with people, I'm really scared of that something triggers me and that that I behave in a way that I end up blaming, or just I closed and I go to the corner, but inside, so I'm there, but I'm not there. And yeah, I don't know if this is something that happened to other men also.
Anyone else? Does it happen to? Raise your hand or make yourself known in some way. You feel too much, or that you just shut down and you're still there in the dinner table or whatever. But
Exactly.
yeah, so did you have anything?
That was actually around the masculine, but it's the same thing, that you're afraid of something, that you might do something, like you might explode if you let go of the control. And I guess just for me, it was just to play around it in a safe environment, just to practice with it where it's safe to let go, and then see what you're gonna do. And actually, I did surprise myself that then the things that I was afraid of and what I thought I wanted weren't actually the things that I wanted. They were totally different, but it was just a thing to, in a safe environment, just to test, play. And one thing about the feminine and all the quadrants is the core thing is for me is freedom and the peace that comes with that. That I don't need to use energy to try to block something that I don't want in my life, or try to be afraid of something that being, say, then too feminine, that might make me less of a masculine, is then when I've gone to all the corners and I've seen what's in there and taken from there what is me, and I can accept all of me, then there's like such a peace in not having anything to hide. It's like, I can tell you anything. I'll tell you everything about myself, and it's all out in the open. And that's such a relief to me, at least, that like I don't need to remember what I've said because I've always said what I am.
Yeah, and like you said about being in a safe space, and that's what we do in the containers. We're going to practice to feel. And one of the biggest fears also around the animal body is that if I let it loose, or if I let my sexual energy run, it's going to destroy, or it's going to overpower, or whatever. And actually the truth is, like, okay, that may last a few minutes in the beginning. Literally, like you lift the cage and it's like, okay, and then like the fear, the just like the fantasy is usually better than the real thing. It's like the fear is usually more intense than what actually happens. The the mental body has made a thing, and it's not really the emotional body's reality.
Thank you.
And I know I'm going to be seeing you in March, so that's fabulous. Any other shares or questions or anything? I'd like to also introduce the two, I think, is Kareem here? No? Okay. I'd like to introduce Jaco. He's going to be assisting on the course, and he has gone through this fully and through the whole cross. And I'm super excited and blessed. There'll be 2 other assistants, and there'll be guest presenters also who come to give their transmissions, all males. I don't know, Jaco, if you wanted to say anything.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I can say that going through the cross has really changed my life in one way, because it feels that I got a map to pieces that were there, and I didn't really understand what they were. For example, for light feminine, it's something that is naturally also in me, and then I just knew that there was this part of me that just was there, and I didn't know how it was there, and then how to access it, like consciously, and how to be there, and also especially to go from this light masculine to dark feminine polarity, to let go of control and actually feel. And so I can relate to Sergio, for example, that there is this fear, what if I let all these emotions run? Because I was actually like this very light masculine. Yes, I can see that there's anger in me, and I'm looking down at the anger, and I understand why the anger is there, but not actually feeling. And then it's just kept building up, so that like really then with the crosswork, really going into that, there's this, I don't know, volcano of emotions that I have just like hoarded there, tried to block down, and then it just like jumps from the iron. It just like blasts out more when I kept holding it and not feeling it. So there's really big pieces in this, all parts of the cross, but for me, especially in this feminine part of the cross. So I can really recommend it for everyone who wants to integrate themselves or make themselves whole. Thank you.
There's somebody who has unmuted. Did you want to share? Oh, okay, you just muted again.
Can you hear me? You can hear me. I think that I can quite easily be in contact with the erotic side of the dark feminine, and also I think I somewhat can be in touch with my emotional side, but these two don't really combine. I got really hard to integrate the emotional side with the erotic and sexual side.
Thank you for bringing that in. It's a very common split for many humans, not just males, but in particular conditioning around sexuality and the coming of age experiences, so forth, for many males, not all, of course, a disconnection between emotions and sex. And that is also was also part of my journey to regain, largely because of the abuse, that how is it to feel and to feel erotically aroused instead of one or the other. Like, I remember there was a time where I was like, I couldn't have sex if I was feeling too much. It was like, okay, I'm too emotional. I can't be aroused, literally.
Yeah, with men, there also can be like this performance pressure that you're supposed to behave in a certain way so much that you actually forget yourself. You're actually too focused on the woman's well-being, and then you're not taking care of your own. And then just put in a little bit feminine of like, just, you can have multiple orgasms too, and you don't have to be the one who's giving orgasms to somebody else.
With his ex-wife, I remember you were like, I'm jealous of the way she would orgasm, and then now you're the one who has multiple orgasms. Any other shares or?
Yeah, I like to share. This what you told about the initiation of masculine, that it's like that you're climbing to the mountain and you take away things. And yeah, for me, it resonates a lot. I've been like living now 1.5 years in the gapping, middle of nothing, like nowhere, and really doing this work. And I've been feeling like most of my life that I'm really feminine, that I've been hanging out with the women much more easily than with the mans. But I see now that I've been like, when I felt this, that I'm really feminine, now I see that I was really bitchy, like like really bitchy kind of woman. And now when I've been like going through all these kind of questions and like feeling what is to be man, what is like to, what kind of healthy man or masculine, what I want to be. And now like this shows me a lot that I really also want to heal my feminine side and come a whole. It's a really beautiful journey, and I'm happy that you're sharing this, you both, and showing the way. It's beautiful, really beautiful. Kiitos. Thank you.
Kiitos. I want to also thank Bruce. Bruce, who is the one who explored and developed the cross, Bruce Lyon, over 40 years, including in his partnership with Shakara for at least 15 years, worked through it day in and day out. And they're the only other beings that I know that have worked with this so deeply, day in, day out in their everyday life. And this is the last year that I'm sharing it. We have founded a temple here in Finland, and it's life is calling for our attention and our presence in many other ways. And so it's time to pass this on to whoever else wants to take it on. Who knows what will happen when I step out of that space. But this is the last year that I will be transmitting any one of the quadrants, online or in person. For those who can make it to Finland, there is in-person version of the feminine, the masculine, body, and soul. This is the only time the online version of the feminine will be done. I did it also once and will not repeat it for the masculine. There will be self-paced course, a pre-recorded version, but I won't be doing it live. And yeah, it's a map to initiation and to liberation. That this freedom that he was talking about is very much at the personal level, but really when you start working with this map, it's a map for liberation as a soul, map for liberation, all the way to when you get to decide whether you take on another body or not. And shadow work is a big part of that until then. And at the beginning, it's very personal. The shadow work is very much at, the personal level. And later it becomes quite more collective, past life, the whole, etc. So working with the archetypes and shadow work are absolute keys to liberation from the small I. And if anyone does want to register for the online version, there's a early bird special that's on for another week. And we begin in 3 weeks. It's a 3-month journey. It is intense. Some people think that, because it's online, it's going to be easier. Those of you here who did the masculine and who did the masculine, Jaakko, who did the masculine in person and who did the masculine in 3 months online, I was also equally surprised as anybody else how much more intense it can be online, because it's 3 months of going deeper and deeper and deeper and journeying with these energies, as opposed to a week. which doesn't mean you don't take it home
Yes,
and unravel it. Please go ahead.
yeah, I can testament on that, that since it's 3 months and it's online, you get the dose of, for example, light feminine, and you first of all you call the energy in, and it starts working you until the next module. So you come, life gives you beautifully all the lessons you need right into your face until the next module. So it's going to be intense and beautiful at the same time.
It's very true, because when you say yes to soul work, and this is soul work, it may sound like, yeah, okay, this is going to help me have better relationships or better sex life or be a better parent or, you know, whatever. Okay, yes, it will do all those things. But this is soul work. You say yes to it, and life will come around to support you and give you the best situations where you can practice. And so instead of being in a group room, you're in your everyday life practicing this. It's incredibly intense and rewarding, and anchoring. It anchors in your everyday life. And doing the in-person version is also incredibly beautiful, because the difference there is that, you know, you're in body with others, and for some it's challenging online. The discipline of actually going through or not being distracted, not multitasking, etc. So you commit. Yeah. Anything else before we close from anyone? Oh yeah, where to find all this? The cross.one. I suck at marketing. That part, chip missing. So the cross.one, that's the website. Also on Remember Yourself by Taki'h, you'll see all the events, the in-person ones and the online stuff, and you can register, help yourself. There's also lots of free webinars that I've already done, one on each quadrant, one on the dark masculine, dark feminine, light masculine, individually for somewhere between an hour and a half and 2 hours each one. And you can go deeper, and it's free. And then there's also for couples, for pairs, and it doesn't matter, same sex or whatever gender combination, how to work with a masculine and feminine within. I love you. Thank you. Thank you for the support. Yeah. Okay. See, I need people like that to help out with marketing. So there it is. It's typed in, the cross.one. I love you, even if you didn't write that, by the way. Okay. So I believe that we've come to our conclusion. Thank you for receiving. Thank you. There were, I think, 75 males who registered, and thank you for those who showed up live, and thank you for being willing to be part of the new way of living as wholes, not living as halves. Like in Spanish we say medio naranja, half an orange, like you're waiting for the other half of the orange. Sergio's laughing. It's true. Yes.
See you on the course.
See, I need people like that. See you in the course. Yeah, see you in the course. And if not, then stay in touch in some way. Stay connected to the cross. Really, it's not about whether you do this course or not, but again, it's whether you have integrated these energies for the benefit of all. And I've spent a lot of time during that masterclass speaking into the personal realm, speaking into the energies and qualities of the dark and light sister, and how they can apply to a man or male in their daily life, in their relating, in their work, in their whatever they do. And I want you to know that once we get through the shadow work, because there's tons of shadow work in this offering, whether you do it in person or you do it online, once you get through the personal resistances, personal wounds, personal clearings, personal shadows, distortions, and start to integrate the healthy version of the light and dark feminine, then you start to open yourself to the goddess, to her. And that can sound a bit scary, or it might sound like a relief. But it's not about, you know, dressing up in particular clothes and looking a particular way, as I shared in the masterclass. It is not about the form, but it is about becoming a vehicle as a divine being, as a human, the true meaning of human, the merging of the animal body and the soul. So the soul embodied here now on the planet, you become a vehicle for the capital T, feminine, and the masculine when you do that work. And so it's no longer about my feminine or my masculine, or about what these energies, these quadrants can do for me. These are forces of nature. These are forces of the universe. They're not here to make sure you have multiple orgasms or make 1 million or 100 million or, you know, get the latest car or whatever the thing is. They are here because they are what allows us to fulfill ourselves. So they're not here to be at our beck and call. We are on the journey to meet them, or to open ourselves, clean ourselves enough so that we become vessels, and we become portals for these energies to move through. And so then you can start calling in this energy, and as I put it, stepping aside, like getting out of the way, so that this can come through. These energies can come through, and that they can be lived in everyday life on the planet. And this changes humanity, this changes the planet, changes everything of how we live and how we interact when it goes beyond the personal realm. And it also goes to the collective. So as you start to embody the dark or light sister, dark and light sister, you start to vibrate that energy with the collective, or for the collective, or amongst the collective. And if this is all like, okay, I'm really not interested, I really actually want to be able to relate better, or whatever it is, you fill in the blanks, okay, that's the level at which that's what you ask, that's what you want, that's what you make yourself available for, that's what you'll receive. There might be some icing on your cake, there might be some special treats. And just know that this work is about actually opening up to these archetypes. Archetypes are universal and archaic. All humans have access to them, and they are a bridge to oneness. They are a bridge to the whole. They are a bridge back to our true divinity and to source. So that's what this work is about at its core. And to recognize that, and to honor that, and to recognize that the dark feminine, the healthy dark feminine, is desperately needed in male and female bodies, in all humans, to the healthy, the imbalanced version of being able to feel and being able to express and be guided by erotic wisdom, and embrace the ugly, or what has been pushed aside. And we desperately need the light feminine's grace and blessings and love and acceptance. And so this will change not only your relationship to those you relate with on a daily basis, your personal realm, but your relationship to energy, to how you see the world, and how you are lived, how you are moved, how you are guided. Yeah, so that's the journey. And I just wanted to be clear, because I made it quite a point to go into the personal realm and to really stay with that there are deeper layers in this journey itself. And if you wish to open up to them, you have every possibility and support and intention on my part to do so. And when we look around, this is what the world looks like after 2,500 years or more, up to 4,000, of repressing the feminine. We need both wings to fly as a bird, in balance, the feminine and the masculine. And that's everyone's work. Whatever body you've chosen in this life, and you will have chosen other forms in other lives. So thank you. Thank you for opening to the range of possibilities and for being willing to be that future era now. Help midwife it now. Vibrate it now. Blessings on your journey. I hope you benefit from this masterclass and look forward to your comments, sharings, questions, inquiries, anything that comes up.